Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Folks, there's no other way but to be all in. Either he's Lord of all or he is not Lord at all. And you can experience the real and authentic, true life change that only God can provide to humanity. See, when we truly encounter Jesus and purpose to know him and follow his teachings, hashtag life change will occur.
Don't forget, every Proview Network sporting event is on sale at our DVD store. Go to www.proviewNetworks.com to buy your DVD today. Car Crafters, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened?
Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
The Sports Desk is proudly presented by Car Crafters. It's like it never happened.
And welcome everybody to the Sports Desk. I'm Scott Colletti. We're joined by Ed Nunez. We're going to be talking a lot of sports here this afternoon, both high school, and we'll talk some Lobos as well. Alden Iowani, our director, as is the final Sports Desk before the Christmas holiday. And Ed, we bring you in, and a lot of stuff going on here in the last couple of weeks with tournaments and whatnot, and now the New Mexico Bowl has come and gone. Lobos are struggling. We'll start with the New Mexico Bowl. It was another outstanding game for a while, I guess, until Marshall pulled away, but it was a situation where, you know, the city was basically put on display, and ESPN always does a great job of doing that on TV.
Well, Jeff Zimbieta, who Steve had on last week, does a great job with the Gildan Bowl. There's no question about it. Well, I was at Frontier Restaurant on Saturday, and I saw several Colorado State fans there. And I even told them good luck today, because, you know, they're here, they're spending money in our city. It's a good economic boon for Albuquerque. You know, I loved Marshall head coach Doc Holliday. You know, when I think of Doc Holliday, where's Wyatt Earp? You know, when I think of that name, I love the name Doc Holliday. So it was a great bowl. Marshall came, you know, they won by 3. So I think, and when we started, let's face this. When they brought up the New Mexico Bowl years ago, a lot of people said, well, it's just a place for the Lobos to play. And that hasn't been the case. Right. The Lobos played in, what, 4 of them? So I think that the bowl has gotten, and we had Jeff on this summer, Jeff Zimbieta, and he talked about building step by step. I think he's done him and his committee have done a tremendous job of getting the bowl to where it is. You said that. The matchups have been pretty competitive. Yes, they have. Yeah. So when it started, I remember thinking, and the New Mexico was in the first New Mexico Bowl, and I was kind of skeptical myself. Look where it's at today.
Yeah, they finished their 12th bowl. It looked great on TV. People can talk about the crowds all they want. They get tickets sold, and that's the way all the bowls work. And, you know, some bowls have more people in the stands than others. This was a matchup where Colorado State was facing off against a team that was a 22 to 24-hour drive away. So it wasn't like they could just hop in the car and come to the game. And it was also, I think, we figured out an 8-hour flight to get here. So not easy to get here from West Virginia. But
man, yeah, you know, that's wow, the Thundering Herd. Yeah. You know, that's you know, when you said that, I'm like, okay, so that's where Randy Moss played, was at Marshall.
How about a team coming into Thundering Herd, though, with a lot of history? and they do have a lot of history. And when they were at that luncheon last week and the band started chanting, "We Are Marshall," you know, I got chills.
Well, remember the movie with Matthew McConaughey, "We Are Marshall." And I think one of the things that you mentioned, you're right, it wasn't logistical like when they had New Mexico and Arizona in the bowl a couple years ago. How perfect was that? Yeah. Tucson, and remember playing for the Kit Carson rifle. I remember all those days when they did do that. So I remember there was a good crowd for that game.
Right.
Maybe not such a big crowd for this one, but I think the enthusiasm for the bowl is caught on. And I don't know that 8 years ago that people would have, or 12 years ago, you said this is the 12th bowl that they played, that people would have said this is going to be a bowl that's going to catch on. It's going to keep growing in attendance and ratings and ESPN's. If you ask the executives at ESPN, what would they say? I think they'd say, hey, well, you know, we're pretty pleased. Otherwise, they wouldn't put it on.
Yeah.
It's got to make money, right?
Well, I'll tell you who else is pretty pleased. The teams and the players and the coaches and the administration from the schools that come to Albuquerque to play in this game. I know firsthand, these people, you know, and just what you read and everything else, these people say, hey, we were treated extremely well. They treated us like this is a big-time bowl. It's pretty amazing, and I've been to big-time bowls, and I know the way the teams, the media, everything else is all set up. This is as good as it gets, and I tell Jeff that all the time.
I don't think you're wrong. One of the things I always like to see is a presentation of the trophy of the New Mexico Bowl. I think the way they designed that trophy is unique to New Mexico, represents New Mexico. Look, someone said something to me about New Mexico yesterday at work. You know, well, that's New Mexico. I said, you know, and again, I'm at work, so I had to be kind of, you know, nice about it. But you know what? I love New Mexico, man. You know, so when I see that trophy and the way it's designed, man, you kidding me? That's all New Mexico. How proud are we of that? I know I am. Whenever I see it, I'm like, hey, whoever went away with that, you've got a memento, and you'll always remember, you know, what your visit here to Albuquerque.
Now let's change the theme of this a little bit. The only drawback that was brought up from people in the media and whatnot is the payout for the bowl. You got about a $400,000 payout, I believe it is, compared to, we'll use the Sun Bowl as an example, over $2 million. Well, that's in El Paso. This is in Albuquerque. To me, Albuquerque is the, you know, you can argue which one's the bigger town, but yeah, I'm going to say Albuquerque every day.
Right.
But you know, the payouts. It shows it's not an indictment on Jeff or the bowl or anything else, but it's an indictment on the haves and have-nots, because then you go up the list and you got the millions and millions for all the bowls involving P5 teams, and the little guy, if you will, were New Mexico Bowl and everything else, not so much.
I think the other thing is this, the question being, how long has the Sun Bowl been around? I remember when Lindsey
it's one of the long timers. So yeah, I mean, it's not so much the bowl. It has to do with the bowl has P5 teams playing in it, so the payout's more. So how do you get the New Mexico Bowl to get to that kind of level, I think, is more where I'm going.
I'll tell you what, if we had Jeff on, Jeff Symbieta, I bet you he's thinking about that in his own mind.
Thinking about that, yeah.
So, I remember back to the days hearing Lindsey Nelson call the Sun Bowl. And Lindsey Nelson, that's one of the, of course, legendary broadcasters there ever was. So I think, you know what, Scott? If you're the committee and you're Jeff Symbieta, you're thinking steps. We're here. Where do we want to be next year? So I think that's a very good point. I really do.
The Lobos took on Arizona in basketball on Saturday. And, you know, in the past, that brings up a lot of good memories for Lobo fans. I don't know what memory this game is going to bring up, because a lot of people are saying, well, they held it to 16, although Arizona did cover because the spread was 15 or 15 and a half. So they have a last-second dunk, and they end up covering the spread. So it was kind of funny on that end. But, you know, it was weird because I didn't see the game live. And I was hearing about how well the Lobos shot, how well the Lobos were hitting threes. Oh, they're hitting threes. And then I look, and, you know, I've talked to Bob Brown about this a lot because he'll bring out the boxes, and I'll point it out. You know, 9 for 29, 9 for 30, 10 for 30. In this game, they were 12 of 34 from three-point range.
Percentage?
No, that's, well, the percentage was 35%.
Okay, all right.
So not a bad percentage, but they only, you know, they made 12 out of 34. And they made 24 shots altogether. And you know, it's pretty. The one thing, the rebounds were actually pretty even, but Arizona was shooting 64% in the game, and in the first half they shot 70.8%, and the rebounds were 35 to 23.
Okay, look. Here's the way I was right there. I was 3 rows behind the Wildcat bench in the chair. Somebody gifted me with some pretty good seats. That's unusual. So we took advantage of it, my son and I. Now, is there some Dane Kuiper? I'm going to go point to Dane Kuiper. The best performance as a Lobo. He hadn't, excuse me, he hadn't shot the ball that well to me since he's been here. So he played very well. That's good for the Lobos. Sam Logwood came back. I was a little surprised that Coach Weir let him play right away. I might have sat him for 2 just on principle alone.
Right.
Look, here's the thing. Now, I think they're going to announce Connor McDougal, by the way, is going to redshirt. I think they're going to announce that. You know, that he hasn't played all year. They thought he was going to play that game. Coach Weir said there's going to be an announcement. I don't think you're going to see him. They don't have the height to match up, okay? Simons is still finding his way. Chris McNeil still finding his way. They don't have the horses. Antono Jackson played decent. Look, Joe Furtstinger is not a starter. He's a guy I want to put in for 5 to 7 minutes, draw a charge, go get me a loose ball, come out. You're starting him, okay? You're starting him. Right. So let's be honest about where the Lobos are. I'm going to tell you that, but I did talk to Lobo insider Lee Faria, who I have a lot of respect for. Lee Faria knows the program. He's around the program a lot. He says the guys that they have coming in next year are really going to contribute. That's all we can look forward to. Now, they're not going to.
How many times have we heard that in the past?
I know. Look,
I was there when we heard that.
I know.
And those half those guys didn't stick around.
No, it's true. There's nothing.
So you're banking on something that you don't know that's going to stick. I mean, yes, I've heard the same thing, and if it happens, it sounds like it's going to be very exciting. But if you want to get to where this fan base wants them to be, it's almost like playing the lottery. You hope you get the right numbers.
I'm not going to disagree with you, but you know, you and I had Coach Weir on the program, okay? So we think a lot of him personally. You know, and I both know. You covered the Lobos in the chair. A lot of people weren't in that chair, man. You were there for 5 years. You know how this town is. You can be. Gary Colson was the nicest guy there was too, and they ran him out. You better win. That's just the way it is. But there's nothing else we can do. And, you know, and I think a couple of things. I'm going to make a couple of comments. We talked about this on 610 the other day. You know, one guy calls in 2, 3, 4 weeks ago to J.J. Buck on the call-in show and says that Coach Weir is an overpriced conditioning coach. Come on, man. Come on. Come on. You know what I'm saying is in this town, we got to give the guy a chance. They're not. Everyone says we need a big name coach. They're not going. They don't have the money.
He's an underpriced head coach.
Okay, good point. See, you would have called in with a point to counter that.
You know, for what the job is, he's underpriced.
What is he, 700, 800?
I don't even think he's making that much.
I thought it was about 600, 700,000
something
a year.
like that.
Okay, so right away in this town, and J.J. Buck and Mike Vitale and Mike Adams and I talked about this on Saturday before the show. Right away, the people in this town are like, I told you so. Kind of, not everybody, but certain fans are like, and it drives me crazy. There's nothing we can do. Coach Weir's here. I like Coach Weir a lot. I'm behind him 100%, but we're going to have to be patient. It's not going to happen this year, and you're not lying, Scott, when people are saying, people have said that before. Let's wait till next year. Let's wait till next year. Let's wait till next year. There's not much we can do. They're not going to fire Coach Weir. I guarantee you that right now in the middle of the season. So all we can do is be patient. That's all we can do.
No, nor should they.
No, heck no. I mean,
should they?
You know what? I'm behind Coach Weir 110%. I really like the guy, but like I said, there's been nice guys here before, and you know they'll pat you on the back and say thank you very much.
It makes me laugh that people even have that thought.
You know what? Think about this.
It makes me laugh.
Scott, think about this.
He's in his first year. He doesn't have his own players.
Right.
He had players that left the team from the previous coaching regime. He kept some of the guys on, and basically he's starting completely new. Now, having said that, you know, it's a high-priced ticket to go to a Lobo game. So you're kind of balancing the, well, you know, we're going to rebuild to, well, how do we keep the fan base kind of situation.
That's the situation that he's in. And you produce for Bob Brown. You hear those calls, you know, a couple of them I'm sure that are just so negative, and you're thinking, okay, this person that's calling in really has no knowledge of the game or has never played or, you know, been around the game, and right away people want an instant fix. I'm going to tell you this again. Craig Neal hurt the program very badly, very badly. He did. And, you know, now they got to rebuild. Not as bad as Mike Loxley hurt the football program, but Craig Neal was a very poor coach. One of the biggest disappointments that we've had here as Lobo basketball coach, and I've only watched for 45 years. One of the biggest disappointments. So Paul Weir's starting from scratch, and people are going to say, why aren't we doing this? Well, let's see tonight what they do. And again, this show will air on Wednesday, but they play Rice. Let's see what they do tonight.
This is going to be for another show, but I'll argue. You know, you brought up Mike Loxley and Craig Neal. I will argue that Mike Loxley recruited better players to come here to play than Craig Neal did.
Boy, that's interesting. That is interesting.
He actually
did.
He had NFL guys.
Yeah, he did.
To the show.
That one receiver that went to Maryland. You're right.
You know, he had a couple of linemen make it. He had Carmen Messina who made it. You know,
albeit for a short time, but yes, right.
But I mean, you know, he had guys that were. Well, Carmen Messina was a top tackler when they were struggling because, you know, that's all he could do because no one else could tackle.
No, you're right. He had, about 15 tackles a game? 12 to 15 a game?
Yeah, 12 to 15. I think his average was 13.5 or something like that. Yeah.
Right.
Where, you know, they just kept getting into the, getting into the open field, and he was the only guy to make the stop. But still, you know, he was in the national limelight, but that was, you know, I would argue that. But they were both in bad situations. I think they both weren't the X's and O's guys that you needed them to be. So we'll talk a little bit about that more after the break. But first, the Dream Style Top 10 Plays of the Week.
Play behind Clark. Oh, look at this. All the way running on the reverse.
Stop in the lane and the one. Strong move. Maya putting the moves on. Jump stop. It's a beauty. Yes.
Generating pressure. Strasser runs the point here. He gets another turnover.
Strasser with the steal. Has a moving chance.
By 6 turnovers as Oyeku finishes and a chance at a three-point play.
Strasser being hounded by Penn. Strasser, that's got to be, let's see. Block.
Crane put the moves on. A long one for B-Hill. Flash! How about that end of the quarter on this B-Hill's third three-pointer of the game?
Oh my God.
He's gonna count at the half. Minute 30 to play. Here comes the double team. They had a cutting pike underneath. Amaya goes all the way with a rack attack.
He's got a step. Anthony Chavez all the way. Finishes. Ladera Golf Course. Opened in 1980, Ladera features a full 18 including spacious greens, a large driving range, roomy practice putting greens, and 4 large lakes. Surrounding Ladera, beautiful views of the Sandia Mountains to the east and volcanoes to the west. Ladera is a challenging city-owned course with the longest playing yardage of any other city courses. For weekend tee times and more information, call 505-836-4449. Garden Sort's Team Sales is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Get into the game. Garden Schwartz Team Sales features fine products and apparel from Wilson, Schutt Sports, Speedline, and Russell Athletics. We offer custom embroidery and screen printing services for all of your school or club needs, from team uniforms to school leather jackets. Specializing in all sports and serving all communities, from big schools to small schools, from up north to down south, or all points in between. Garden Schwartz Team Sales. For great prices, friendly staff, and quality products, call Garden Schwartz Team Sales today at 1-800-880-7767. That's 1-800-880-7767. Since 1939, Garden Schwartz Team Sales is a proud supporter of New Mexico youth athletics.
Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
And we are back here on the Sports Desk. Scott Gallotti along with Ed Nunez. We are talking sports here today. Easy for me to say, but anyway, we are talking sports here today. Alden Iowani, our fine director, and Ed, we were talking in depth about what was going on with the Lobos, and you know, just to kind of put a bow on this, it's going to be a tough season for UNM for sure, but you know, if the pieces fall into place like they should, this might be a very exciting team next year. But then again, it's a big if, and I think that's the biggest thing that gets me, because you don't know who, you know, from this team might transfer at the end of the year. You got moving parts every year, and it doesn't matter what school you are.
And that's true. You know, that's true. You know, there's a couple of guys that from the old program with Craig Neal that I thought maybe Jalen Harris, maybe Damian Jefferson might stay. You know, that their style seemed to fit in with Coach Weir's running gun.
What if they had Elijah Brown this year?
You know what? And there's a reason why they don't. You know that. I mean, Elijah's going to want his shots. No, I get it. Elijah Brown's playing very well for Oregon right now. But one of the things that in the paper that encouraged me is that Sean Miller said he thinks Coach Weir's system is going to work. He likes it. He's a fan of it. You know, and Sean Miller.
Well, see, Sean Miller knows what Coach Weir is trying to do.
Right.
And he's just, you know, he saw it firsthand. And the funniest thing that I heard about the game with Arizona the other day was it was the Giants against Lilliputians. That was kind of the I don't know if you remember Gulliver, but
of course, Gulliver's Travels, man. Of course,
that was the old book, and I think they had a video or whatever, or a movie. But that's what someone actually pointed out and said that's what it seemed like.
You know what? The other thing we're not saying is Arizona might be an Elite 8 team, maybe a final, maybe. How that team lost.
Most of the commentators, most of them, the commentators on the game thought that they were a Final Four team. They had their top player who was tearing up on Saturday. He was out for 9 games.
Yeah.
So
I don't know how that team lost 3 games in a row. That should never happen. Not with that talent. But I really, it reminded me of the old Arizona and New Mexico games. There was a lot of, you should have seen how many U of A fans were in attendance. There was a bunch of them. So I'd like to see, hopefully the series will continue. Coach Weir wants it to continue. Let's see if Sean Miller does. And I'm going to tell you this about Lute Olson. All due respect to him, he's a great coach. You know, due respect to A.J. Bramlett, who's a friend of mine and a former Wildcat and a former member of the '97 championship team. A lot of respect for A.J. But when they came in here in '99 and they lost, they had also lost the year before, and they had lost in '87. And so Lute Olson definitely had the better program and the better players. He tried to blame Gary Spitzberg. Great article in the paper about Gary Spitzberg, the timekeeper who's been keeping time for 30, 40 years on clocks.
Right.
And it wasn't. I don't think it was Gary's fault. Jeff Grammer wrote a great article on Sunday. So Lute Olson figures, hey, I can't win here because when I lose to the Lobos, everyone's asking me, why are you losing to these guys? And so I'm going to blame it on the clock operator, and we'll just discontinue the series. And really, that's what I believe. Now, of course, does Arizona have the better program? Absolutely, of course they do. But he just figured he couldn't win here, so let's discontinue. So maybe Coach Miller has a different idea. They played last year and they played this year. Let's hope it keeps going. And next year, Scott, maybe it'll be more competitive. That's what we're all hoping.
That is what a lot of people are hoping. And the thing is, you had mentioned how could they lose 3 straight? Well, DeAndre Ayton, who had 13 points and 14 rebounds on Saturday, like I said, he was out for 4 games, leading scorer, leading rebounder. That's a lot of the story right there. When he's in the game, they are very, very dynamic and hard to beat.
So they're listing him as a #1 pick.
Mm-hmm.
And, I looked at him and his size, and I can see him and Joel Embiid, the 76er center, going at it for years.
And 13 and 14 is an average number for him.
Yes.
Especially the points. The 13 is kind of low.
And then they've got the other twin tower, and then they've got the kid from Brooklyn. And this kid is a freshman. I don't know if you saw his arms. He's ripped, shredded.
Yep.
I don't know how that team, again, so you just mentioned why. That team should never lose more than 1 in a row, and I could see them being a Final Four, maybe an NCAA champion with that team, really.
Absolutely. So when you look at the college basketball scene and the college football scene, Lobos, by the way, still looking for an offensive coordinator, where their former offensive coordinator got a gig at Georgia Southern.
My son and I are speculating, and they signed a quarterback for him that played at Tennessee. I don't remember his name offhand. And what does that mean for Tavaka Tuiloti? I mean, and the other thing.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Ed. I believe he's a dual threat, is he?
Right.
Not? Yeah.
They're not bringing this guy in who played at Tennessee. He saw some time at Tennessee to sit on the bench. Yeah, now that doesn't mean that Tavaka Tuiloti is not going to play.
Yeah, I don't have his name handy, but I.
Yes, so my son and I saw that.
Who you're talking
the
about.
other thing is, my son and I are speculating too that Coach DeBest is gone. Is he going to change the offense? Is he going to go away from the triple option? I wonder. I kind of wonder. Let's see. That's going to be interesting to see. He's got Quintrell Moran's coming back next year. Let's see, he's trying to get another year from Ramel Jordan. Delane Hart-Johnson has an NFL body, but he was very disappointing to me, very disappointing. But is he going to go to more of a spread attack? I kind of wonder. Let's see. I'm very interested to see what he's going to do.
Well, if the receivers that they have stick around, they've got the pieces. They probably have the best receiving core that they've had just as a total in a long time.
Oh, man, I don't think you're wrong. And, they had some more success with the passing game than they did in the past. But Lamar Jordan, let's face it, he's a run threat first. He did work on his mechanics. He did have some nice passes, but that's not his strength. And you said it, too. You said this all year long. If you're passing 15 to 20 times, that's not their formula to win, and that was proven over and over. So I'm kind of interested to see with this quarterback coming in, he's not going to sit the bench. I can guarantee you that. But maybe him and Tavaka Tuiloti play like when they had Apodaca here, Austin Apodaca and Lamar Jordan. Let's see. I'm kind of excited about that, but I kind of am interested with Coach DeBest out of the picture. Are you going to stay with the triple option, or what are you going to do? Let's see.
What are some of the things that have been going on that interest you, Ed?
As far as
sports.
Oh, gosh. I think, I think one of the things that interested me was I didn't get to see the highlight thing. It was Kobe's retiring of the jerseys last night with 8 and 24. And you mentioned that you had a show with Bob Brown about your Mount Rushmore of Lakers, and it was good to see Kareem, Jamal Wilkes, Byron Scott, Magic, all the old Lakers out there, Bill Russell and Kareem sitting together. That's such storied history there. Shaq. So I think with Kobe, he's one of my favorite Lakers of all time. You mentioned your Mount Rushmore of Lakers, and mine is Magic, Kareem, West, and Kobe. Jerry West was the first poster I had on my wall when I was a kid. I love Jerry West, man. Mr. Clutch, that guy was a great player. So I've loved the Lakers ever since 1971. 72 was when I was 10 years old. So I think when I watched the retirement ceremony last night, and this man meant so much to the Lakers, and he opposed his will. A lot of, as a teammate, aloof, distant, not a great guy to come chat it up. His thing was, his focus was, he said this is, his dad played in the Italian league. So they said even at 8 and 10 years old, 12 years old, he's played against professionals wanting to play him one-on-one, and they're looking at him like, are you kidding me? But he had that mentality already, what they call the Mamba mentality. And the assassin's mentality.
Right.
And I never saw, so let me just tell you a story that I read. They said that this was during the Olympics. He wanted to work out with one of the assistant coaches. He calls the guy at 4 in the morning. Coach, you busy? And the coach is like, no, but it's 4 in the morning. So they go work out. And they said, finally at 11 o'clock, the coach says, you know what, in the morning, I got to go. That's 7 hours worth. So another story, 1997 when he shot those air balls as a rookie. I don't know you remember that. He's a rookie, and against Utah, he shoots 3 straight air balls. The Lakers are out of the playoffs. He's only 18 years old. He gets off the plane and shoots for 24 hours straight at the gym. 24 hours straight. So you know what? When I thought about that, and they used to say that about Larry Bird. The guys on the Celtics said, "Hey, we've got other things to do. We can't sit here and wait. To work out with this guy." So when you talk about work ethic like that, that guy was insane. Because, look, I love basketball so much, but even I'm not going to sit there and shoot for a whole day straight. Right. This guy's work ethic was unparalleled, unmatched. And, I don't know, again, I don't know if it's even healthy, right? I mean, he's got a family, he's got kids now, and it's beautiful. But, man, imagine living with this guy when they lost. I mean, so I think that's one of the things that amazed me last night because I'm a huge Laker fan, and just going back on his career, and I saw a lot of Laker games, man, and that guy was one of the greatest there ever was.
So who was your Mount Rushmore again? I
had Kareem, Kobe, Magic, and Jerry West.
The only one that was different on that list is I had Wilt instead of Kobe.
And you know what? I saw Wilt play just barely at the tail end of his career, and then you remember.
See, I'm old enough to see West and Wilt when they won the 33 straight and all that stuff.
Right, I saw that. I saw, you lived there.
Yeah.
So, and what I said to somebody the other day is when they won 33 straight, Miami Heat won 27 straight a couple years ago and came close.
Right.
But if you remember when the Lakers won 33 straight, there's not the nutrition, the travel, or the weight training that there is today. That streak may never, ever be equaled, ever. It was an amazing streak.
And it was how they beat teams, too, because I used to keep score during those games and keep a score sheet. Those games were blowouts. Most of them were blowouts. I mean, they didn't just win. They handily beat the other team. They were so much better than the other teams that year, and it took a great game by the Milwaukee Bucks to break
I remember that game. I remember watching that game on ABC.
It was the coldest shooting that the Lakers had all season long.
It was eventually going to end.
And then the two teams met in the playoffs, and Bucks won one game. They pretty much
4-1. Lakers. I got to say this, and this is funny because Bill Sharman, the Laker coach at the time, and he had some voice problems. He had he lost his voice, so he came up with the idea of the morning shoot around. Now, Wilt was a notorious late guy, man. Late guy. Didn't go to bed sometimes till 4 or 5 in the morning. So they wanted to have the shoot around at 10 in the morning, 10, 11. Bill Sharman came up with the idea. And they said that Wilt was like, very resistant, but he showed up, he was there, and so that started the morning shoot around. Other story that I got is Jerry West said in his book that Wilt asked him up to his room one time to help him eat. And he said Chamberlain had all this fish, sodas. Oh my God, the food enough for 3 people. And so Jerry West, it was funny, he's like, no. Jerry West says, look, he wasn't going to eat all that food, but he couldn't believe that Wilt, unbelievable. But again, the guy was 7'2", 300 pounds with a 32-inch waist. 32-inch waist. So he gave some clothes to Kareem one time when he was Lou Alcindor, and Kareem tried him on. He said he came up to his chest. The man had no waist. So it was an unbelievable story. I read that in Kareem's book, Giant Steps.
That is
so a lot of great stories there. A lot of great stories.
Absolutely. Yeah. So and it goes to where. And you can make arguments all the way around because, don't get me wrong. I covered the early part of Kobe's career and all that good stuff, and know what a great player he was. I've always been a Laker fan. So, it's just how do these players, or what do these players mean to their teams? I think that's the biggest question nowadays where, you got the superstar that can jack it up from all over the place and make it. And you got different players that mean different things. And, the players I mentioned meant so much to their team, it's kind of hard to keep them off. But, there's no wrong answer because, Bob and I were talking about you could probably do 2 extra sets of 4 and not even have the same people.
Lakers have had some of the greatest players in NBA history. They really have them. You know, Paul Gasol, James Worthy, Gail Goodrich. There's been so many great players that have. George Mikan, the first big man, of course.
Yeah, and Bob mentioned George Mikan on his list, and he's way before my time. But George Mikan wasn't an L.A. Laker. He was a Minneapolis Laker. But he's part of the franchise.
Right.
Because the franchise didn't change. It just moved from Minneapolis to L.A., so he is on the board. In fact, there was a lot of resistance when they put his name as a retired number on the board. It's like, he didn't play in L.A., but he was a Laker.
Part of the thing is, okay, I've watched the Lakers win 10 championships. They also had 6 from Minneapolis, and those count. And there's a lot of people that say, well, they shouldn't. They said
there were people in L.A. that almost resented that.
They did.
Because he wasn't part of L.A., but then the Lakers organization said he was a Laker.
Roland Lansby, he's an author. I know you know who he is. He wrote the book, The Lakers. And so I read that, and they said that at one point they threw away all the trophies from Minneapolis. They were in the bin, and someone hauled them out. And but think about that.
Yeah.
Yes, so think about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing because everyone in L.A. thought it was like a clean beginning. Hey, these are the L.A. Lakers, not the Minneapolis Lakers, and that was kind of the push and shove that you were having all that time. We will take a break and we will move ahead here on the Sports Desk.
The Barley Room, proud sponsor of Proview Networks for over 9 years, is pleased to introduce Black Iron Catering. From weddings and family reunions to birthdays and office parties, Black Iron Catering is perfect for any event. Contact Jamie at 505-459-8259 and book your event today. Black Iron Catering. Let us bring our kitchen to you.
When I train for American Ninja Warrior, I schedule regular workouts to stay in shape. To keep my car in Ninja Tough shape, I head to a Napa Auto Care Center for regular maintenance and genuine Napa Auto parts. Like brakes and batteries. I trust my Napa Auto Care Center for quality parts and quality service. And with the 24-month, 24,000-mile nationwide warranty, I drive away with peace of mind every time. Visit AutoCareNM.com to find a location near you.
VR Junkies is a virtual reality arcade. We specialize in all things VR, from the simple phone-based headsets to cutting-edge full-body motion systems. Check us out at the Coronado Mall. VR Junkies.
Christy Mae's Restaurant is locally owned and operated with a family-friendly atmosphere. Their array of homemade comfort food is just like your mom's. From homemade chicken pot pie to their famous chicken salad on a croissant, Christy Mae's even offers lunch catering. Christy Mae's Restaurant is located at 1400 San Pedro Drive, Northeast. They offer drive-in, carry-out, and catering. Open Monday through Saturday, 10:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. Terry Cosper Insurance Agency is a proud partner with Proview Networks and a proud supporter of New Mexico High School athletics. Terry's been a local farmer's agent for over 20 years for auto, home, life, and business insurance. Just like high school sports are important, so are teen drivers. For more information, call Terry or one of his licensed staff members at 898-5556. Quotes are available for you.
Is this my car?
State Farm knows that for every one of those moments,
This is ridiculous!
there's one of these.
Is this my car? What? This is ridiculous.
This can't be happening!
This can't be happening.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Shut up.
Shut up!
That's why State Farm is there, with car insurance for when things go wrong, but also here with car loans to help life go right. State Farm.
Talk to State Farm agent Marty Size or Michelle Rudolph in Albuquerque today.
Sadie's is a proud supporter of New Mexico high school sports and athletics, and we here at Proview Networks would like to thank Sadie's for their continued support in helping us bring you all of your New Mexico high school sports coverage.
And we are back here on the Sports Desk. I'm Scott Galletti, along with Ed Nunez. We have Alden Iowani, our fine director. The crew's all here at Proview Networks Comcast 26. And time now to talk a little bit about James Yodis's All-Metro team as it came out on Sunday in the Albuquerque Journal. And the one thing that James had alluded to me that the one guy that might be a surprise on his team is the quarterback. We will start with that right away. Don't have a graphic for it, but Gabe Smith from El Dorado.
You know what? I'm not surprised. I'm not. I know that some other people, would think Jordan Byrd and some other players, but James Smith, and I told you this, and you covered the Eagles a couple of times for ESPN Radio. I love the way he handled the ball.
Overall, I think I saw about 5 of their games this year, yeah.
Love the way he ran the option. Love the quarterback reads. He's a very smart quarterback. The other thing, he's got a good arm. They ran a lot of slants to Colin Bars, and the timing.
Thank you.
And JV
That's
Chavez.
exactly what I mean.
JV and Chavez too.
JV and Chavez,
the timing was impeccable. Execution was great. I think Charlie Dotson maybe didn't expect that much from El Dorado. They're in a tough district with Manzano and La Cueva. I like that kid a lot, and he's only a junior. He's only a junior, and so next year, going forward, he's probably already thinking, people are going to say he's a Gatorade Player of the Year. Again, you and I said this last year about Manzano. You still had to put the work in. We predicted, right? We said they should win the championship. But there's a lot of things that happen during the summer. You never know what's going to happen. But I like Gabe Smith a lot. I really do. He's one of my favorite players. And as a junior going in to be a senior, where has his stock risen with James Yotis putting him on his first all-Metro team?
Well, you mentioned slants to those guys that you mentioned, Trey Duran, another guy.
Right.
Every time they ran a slant to him during games that I did, it was a touchdown. So it was very impressive. Always seemed to call the right play at the right time. And like you said, smart quarterback, bullet for a gun for an arm because he threw bullets.
He sure did. And the other thing is,
and they were right where they needed to be. That's the thing that impressed me about him. First time I saw El Dorado play this year was the fact that he would throw a pass along the sideline, and the only guy that could catch it is his guy.
Right. He put the ball in.
That's a good arm.
Great positions, great execution. The other guy that helped him a lot was the running back, Richard Gallegos. So I thought El Dorado's offensive weapons, and then their Keith Alvarado, the lineman, he's only a sophomore. He helped them. So I really was impressed with El Dorado, and considering that they had to go against 2 heavyweights in there in the playoff, they slugged it out, man. They did, and they had a chance.
Now, one guy that you saw in person that I thought might be the guy who was the surprise quarterback is Nick Garland from Los Lunas.
I really like him too. He had him against Belen, and he has a very unique, like Phillip Rivers, he throws kind of sidearm, and but Nick Garland is very, very accurate. Cody Vacu, he's got some good receivers out there in Los Lunas. But I think one of the things that Nick Garland has is a command of the offense and the whole package as far as audibles and the things that come with that Tiger offense. Yes, I enjoyed watching him play, and he's only a junior too. He'll be back for another year. So we get another chance to watch him play next season.
Now, the one thing that I might disagree, but I can see why he did it with James Yotis, is, and this will go back to you talking about us talking last year, Manzano should win the title, but you have to put in the work. Well, the guy that put in the work, and Chad Adcox will tell you, front and center how much work he put in at quarterback is Jordan Byrd. He was listed as an athlete this year, and I thought he was more instrumental this year than he was last year at the quarterback spot because of how he developed and worked hard during the summer on being a quarterback and not just a runner.
I think that's a very good and fair point. I saw him at the banquet, or not the banquet, the awards ceremony. It's not banquets anymore. But I told him, I said, you know what, you're very unselfish because you could have taken off and ran a lot more than he did, and he didn't. You had Xavier Ivy-Sod, Andrew Erickson, Keon Pringle started playing more later in the year, Alejandro Vallejos. They had so many weapons and a great line. So I think Jordan Byrd, as you mentioned, really learned how to play that. And how many times did he throw? Didn't throw very much, not for very many yards. Didn't have to.
No, but when he did, it was in a drop-back style, not a wildcat style. And it was basically a design play where he knew where he was going and didn't force it, in my opinion.
Now, you know what? They gave him one read. You're probably right. There's the read, boom. And they were so good that, yes. I think
when you got Andrew Erickson on your team, you know you're going to have a completion 8 times out of 10 anyway.
Gosh, that guy had some speed. Chad Adcox did a great job with that offense. And the linemen they had, Lou Bush, Jackson. Right. I don't know how many linemen. That was the unsung part of their team, was the offensive and defensive lines, no question.
Well, let's run down these guys real quickly. For the first team offense, Diego Casillas from Belen, a junior, He's one of the running backs along with Isaac Torres of Cleveland, a senior, Reese Wilkinson, senior, along with Andrew Erickson and Ryan McGaha from St. Pius. They were the wide receivers. Jordan Bird, first-team offensive athlete. The center, Troy Skinner from Los Lunas. He's a senior. You saw him.
I did. Very good.
Mike Taylor, senior from Cleveland, one of the guards, along with Chase Lattimore from Del Norte. Glad to see him get some pub because he was one of the guys that always stood out the few Del Norte games that I did.
Yes, and you had a chance to meet him and shake his hand as well. So, yes, it's good to see Chase Lattimore getting some recognition at Del Norte.
Tackles, Evan Tafoya Valle from Rio Rancho, Greg Romero Manzano, and the place kicker Vince Quesada from Hope Christian. First team defense, well, no surprise here. Davion Jackson from Manzano, Ryan McClain from La Cueva, and Keyshawn Banks from Rio Rancho, all seniors.
If you look at Davion Jackson to play against La Cueva on 4th and 1, that might have been one of the plays of the year.
Yeah.
You know, I remember he just split the gap, loss of 3, game over. So I thought Davion Jackson had a heck of a year as well. And, you know, he's not as big as you think. He came up on stage, and I was expecting this, you know, a very large gentleman. He's not as big as you think, but I'll tell you what, he makes big plays.
And by the way, the other lineman for defense, Rowdy Robinson from Belen, a senior, and Hunter Carter from La Cueva, another senior.
Robinson's one of my favorite players. He really is. I had a chance to do the Las Lunas game and then the playoff game against Roswell, again in Belen. And Rowdy Robinson, he had 24 sacks on the season.
Actually, I take that back. Hunter Cardiff is a secondary guy. Sorry to
No problem. No, Rowdy Robinson, 24 sacks on the season. When I talked to Coach Hennington before one of the games, he said that Rowdy Robinson was also one of their fastest players and offered to play guard and linebacker. So that told me a lot about that kid. I really, you know, I saw him on stage too, and just a great young man, as they all are. So yeah, I really like Rowdy Robinson's game.
Going back to Davion Jackson, I would put him, this is my opinion, in the same breath as Keyshawn Banks and what they mean to their team.
You know what? I think
and
you're
I
right.
love Keyshawn Banks. He's a beast. And
he is.
He could do defense by himself.
Well, he's the San Diego State bound defensive end, so he had a great year. You're not kidding. But as far as to your point, I wouldn't disagree. Davion Jackson had a heck of a season, and again, you got Bird and Erickson, and you know they're going to get all the accolades. But I think that Davion Jackson definitely deserves his share of them.
So secondary, I mentioned Hunter Cardiff, who I originally listed as a lineman, Javian Chavez from El Dorado, and Rashawn Moore from Atrisco Heritage. All good choices.
Oh yeah, Rashawn Moore especially. He had a very good year at Atrisco Heritage as a safety. He had a very good year.
Linebackers, Cameron Herrera from Manzano, Derek Lloyd-Old from La Cueva, Kalon Balon from Rio Rancho, and Dominic Thompson from Cleveland. Again, very good choices.
Lloyd-Old had a hit earlier in the year on one of Cleveland.
You and I talked
oh my
about
God,
that
he about killed him. About killed him, man. When I shook his hand, I said, "Kid, you know, you really bought some hits this year, man." He really did.
And that's just how he played. Him and Ryan McClain, that's how they play the game. They hit like NFL players.
That's why football was, when I saw those kind of hits, I'm glad I never played, man. I probably wouldn't be here.
And the punter, another good choice, Cameron Schreier, who's only a junior from West Mesa.
And the son of West Mesa basketball coach and athletic director, Sean Schreier, been a longtime friend of mine, grandson of Phil Schreier, the former athletic director at Cibola, former New Mexico Highlands pitcher. Just a heck of an overall great guy. So, yes, the Schreiers have a very athletic family.
On the second team offense, Nick Garland made athlete, much like Jordan Bird, so he was the athlete. And then you had quarterback Angelo Trujillo from Cleveland, running back Xavier Ivy-Saad from Manzano, Angel Ramirez from Atrisco Heritage, wide receivers Colin Bars, El Dorado, Nathaniel Manzanares from Cibola, and Derek Reyes from Rio Rancho. I kind of snicker from Manzanares because I remember doing a game with Roger Holian where he had a couple of runbacks on punts, and he was dancing around, and Roger goes and calls him Crazy Legs Manzanares.
Man, and I saw head coach Roderick Williams out there, and I asked him about Nathaniel Manzanares, who has another year as well.
Right.
And I think you and I liked him, you know, at the slot position. This kid has got speed. He's got some good moves. He got a little shake to his stem. It's one of my favorite.
And he catches everything that goes, much like Andrew Erickson, he catches everything, or or almost everything that goes his way.
He's a really fast kid. He's a good player.
They're kind of similar players in that they're reliable. You throw it towards them one way or another, they're going to get the ball.
Very athletic. Yes, you're right. And the quarterbacks know that they can count on them.
Grayson Hertridge from El Dorado made line on second team. Christian Carruthers from Albuquerque. Keith Alvarado from El Dorado. And Theron Brown from Cleveland on the line. The linebackers Noah Baca Manzano, Fred Mady III from La Cueva, also only a junior. And Cielo Gonzalez from Volcano Vista. Diego Sanchez from Los Lunas, secondary Richard Gallegos, El Dorado, Deontay Bernard Sandia, another kid that I like a lot, and he's only a junior. Jacob Werner, a junior from Volcano Vista, and the punter was Hunter Harrison.
So all well-deserving athletes. Christian Carruthers, the son of former Albuquerque High star Scott Carruthers back in the day, so there's some good lineage there as well.
And very quickly, to round out the offense, Jed Edgar from Manzano Center, the guards, Diego Archuleta from Atrisco, Lou Bush from Manzano, Jackson Barr from La Cueva tackle, along with Devin Gonzalez from West Mesa, and Dominic Camacho, only a sophomore, a kid that's going to be very, very good. Place kicker for La Cueva. And I bring him up because talking with the coaching staff, at the beginning of the year, he struggled. And they weren't sure what they were going to get with him. And Brandon Back said, yeah, we liked him, but he wasn't really producing. He took the time, and I've been around place kickers at UNM and different places that put in the extra work. This kid apparently put in the extra work, according to Coach Back, got better and better. Now he's one of the major producers as far as a place kicker.
Well, I'll tell you what, some of his kicks were very important and instrumental into what the Bears did this season. So, yes, I agree.
Yeah. So we will take a break here, and we will round out some basketball when we come back on the Sports Desk.
For 55 years, people have bought trucks from Tillery in Los Lunas. We have a great selection of vehicles, the quality service department, and some of the best deals in the state. But most importantly, we found people prefer to buy trucks from people who actually drive trucks.
Tillery is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network. Locally owned and operated, located in Los Lunas, right off I-25, exit 203.
Looking for some exhilarating fun? It's at All Out Zone. All Out Zone showcases Nerf Dart tag games from team elimination battles to human versus zombies, pitting two teams against each other in fun, organized chaos with trained referees, music, and a full arsenal of Nerf blasters. You need team parties, birthday parties. We can customize the party to fit your needs. Visit us at the Coronado Mall. Give us a call, 505-444-6964. All Out Zone. Don't forget, every Proview Network sporting event is on sale at our DVD store. Go to www.proviewNetworks.com to buy your DVD today.
Gecko's Bar and Tapas, a proud supporter of Proview Networks. It's been a fan favorite spot for food lovers and sports fans. With not one, but two great locations, including outdoor patio, an atmosphere you won't want to miss. Gecko's, off Academy and in Nob Hill.
Locally loved restaurants like Farina Pizzeria, Farina Alto, and the Artichoke Cafe are the perfect venue for your next event. Farina Alto has traditional Italian food, plus handcrafted cocktails in a beautiful Northeast Heights location. Farina Pizzeria with a downtown vibe, amazing affordable wines, and local beer. And the Artichoke Cafe has set the standard for casual fine dining since 1989. Visit our family of restaurants and see what fine dining is all about.
Sadie's is a proud supporter of New Mexico high school sports and athletics, and we here at Proview Networks would like to thank Sadie's for their continued support in helping us bring you all of your New Mexico high school sports coverage.
Ladera Golf Course. Opened in 1980, Ladera features a full 18 including spacious greens, a large driving range, roomy practice putting greens, and 4 large lakes. Surrounding Ladera, beautiful views of the Sandia Mountains to the east and volcanoes to the west. Ladera is a challenging city-owned course with the longest playing yardage of any other city courses. For weekend tee times and more information, call 505-836-4449.
And we are moving right along here on the Sports Desk. I'm Scott Coletti along with Ed Nunez. Time to quickly go over the polls here in boys and girls basketball. We'll start with the girls. 3A, Tehachapi, Tucumcari, Eunice, Texaco, and Tularosa lead the pack in 3A. Let's go to 4A now, where you have Robertson, Portales, Moriarty, Pewaukee Valley, and Shiprock. West Las Vegas is number 6. Hope Christian number 7.
Yeah, they are number 7, and they lost a lot from last year, but they're still hanging in there.
5A girls, Los Lunas still at the top, followed by Gallup, Kirtland Central, Bloomfield, and St. Pius at number 5.
St. Pius is, as you mentioned, number 5, and I talked to Maya Trujillo this weekend, and she's still working her way back from an accident that she had earlier in the year. She should be just fine after the holidays.
And after an absolutely outstanding matchup in 6A, you had Cibola and Hobbs. Cibola still at number 1 in the 6A poll. Hobbs falls to number 3, which kind of surprises me until you realize a team that I saw at the Joe Armillo Classic, and I know you did as well. Las Cruces is number 2.
I'll tell you what, that's a proficient team. Janessa Johnson, Sarah Abney, Coach Matt Abney. That's a very good team. And Cibola and Las Cruces, or Cibola and Hobbs, had a real good mano-a-mano duel last week. Amaya Lewis and Amaya Brown really went at it. Amaya Lewis from Hobbs shot 1 of 14 in the second half, and that kind of hurt the Eagles, but she had a great first half.
But they both proved probably, you don't see this all the time where the matchup lives up to the hype. They proved, both teams and both individuals, why they're talked about so highly.
First cousins, by the way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they really went at it.
Let's go to boys now. In 3A, you got Texaco usurping Pecos, who was last week's number 1. Santa Rosa, Estancia, and Cuba round out the top 5.
Yeah, Texaco, they've been at the top of that class for a long time.
Yeah. Let's go to number 4. Let's go to 4A. Bernalillo. Can you believe that? They're undefeated. I don't put the records up because even though Manny Lucero puts them up, you never know whether he's going by max prep. Sometimes they don't have the right record. So basketball is probably the only sport along with baseball that I don't put the records during the polls. But Bernalillo is number 1. Hope Christian number 2. That is a story in
When's
itself.
the last time we haven't seen Hope Christian at number 1 in class 4A?
And they still haven't lost to a 4A team.
No, and I know Terry Darnell real well. Gosh, he has to be excited of it. So, what they are doing so far. Yeah. I know Coach Darnell, though, he's looking at it as a long game, and it is. But it's the first time I've seen anybody in that first slot for a long, long time besides Hope Christian.
Yeah, Terry Darnell, you know him a lot better than I do. But what I know of him and what I've known just getting to know him, extremely hard worker, puts his nose to the grindstone, gets his kids to believe.
Let me tell you something about him. Just a couple of years ago, this is one of the best players Bernalillo ever had. He was still playing with his kids even at 48, 46 years old and still killing them. So I said, hey, Terry, Coach, I said, when the kids go home and they ask who the best player on the roster is and the kids say, Coach, maybe you better step back and stop playing with these kids, man. And, we laughed. We laughed about it because that's how good that guy, I'm not kidding you, right. He would shoot NBA threes.
Right.
That's how good he is.
Right.
And plus, hates to lose at Tiddlywinks Jacks when I used to ref his games.
Anything, yeah.
Oh, my God, you should have seen him. Me and Terry are friends. But during the game, Ed, you got to help us out. What do you want me to do, Terry? Oh, my God, we used to have some great banter back and forth on the sidelines. We really did. 5A,
you got Los Lunas, followed by Espanola Valley, Capital, Roswell, and Kirtland Central. Once again, St. Pius at number 6 this time on the boys' side, much like the girls.
Damian Segura, the St. Pius head coach, has them at 6-2. Los Lunas, though, with Marty Zeller, geez, they beat Cleveland the other day, so they're doing pretty dang well.
And in 6A, you got Las Cruces, followed by Atrisco, who overcame Cleveland this week. Cleveland was last week's number 2. El Dorado and Oñate round out the top 5. Very dangerous team in Volcano Vista, number 6. Albuquerque, number 7. Sandia, an outstanding shooting team, number 8. West Mesa, very solid team as well. And Rio Rancho. So this is a division that I think is wide open, although I will say the team at the top, is my consensus pick. If you had to say who do you think is going to win it, I would say Las Cruces.
Well, William Benjamin would thank you for that, because Coach Benjamin's going to let you know when the Bulldogs are playing well. All the respect in the world for Coach Benjamin.
Right. Absolutely. So, in the final 30 seconds or so, your thoughts on what's coming up and everything else.
Well, Scott, the next time, it's been a great, well, we're not going to wrap up this, because it's the 26th next week, but a lot of things going on in sports. Glad we were able to deviate a little bit today and talk about other things that I like and you like. Sometimes, as you mentioned, shows go off structure, but that was fun.
Well, next time we talk to you, it'll be just before New Year's, so I want to wish everyone a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and all that good stuff. And for Ed Nunez and Alden Iowani, I'm Scott Coletti. We will talk to you next week on the Sports Desk.